What's going on, guys? Welcome back to review and discussion for UnOrdinary episode 273. Always have to think about the numbers. Anyway, we are here to discuss episode 273. And honestly, this episode's a fair bit short, honestly. But, we clearly know why Uru, hurt her hand, unfortunately. So, Uru, hope you're still doing good. So, let's go ahead and talk about episode 273. Honestly, an episode I'm not particularly crazy about just because you all know some things happen in this episode that I don't really like. But let's just go ahead and talk about it still because, some cool things do still happen in this episode. We still get some information. So, episode starts out with John and Sarah just walking down an alleyway discussing the new cafe, Nodo's Cafe. And then they notice a trail of water and immediately get ambushed. John immediately just widens his eyes, but the next shot is him waking up as his eyes are starting to open, and he sees that his hands are frozen, and he just says, it's pretty cold. He then notices that Sarah is being drowned. I think it's safe for us to assume by the same person who visited Terrence in the prison. He immediately then rushes up to try and get to her, but is clearly stuck as he continues to fight and struggle against the ice. And this is where we get to the part that I don't really like about this episode. So he only claims that he needs some strength to break through the ice. And he does, in some capacity at least, activate his ability. His eyes do glow. And inside we see some kind of vein system inside, presumably the aura channels that begin to glow inside of John. Now, again, everything I'm about to say is purely my opinion only. Some of you bring up great points in the comments. I just personally don't agree with them because personally I just don't like some of the decisions that Uru has made as of late when it came to John. Now, does John adjusting his power stat without an ability make sense for an awakening? Yes. Let's talk about this first. The fact that John was able to awaken his ability, or to regain his ability, even if for the briefest of moments, honestly, you guys already know how I felt about him getting disabled in the first place. And like I said, if Uru gives it to him, Uru's in a bit of a quandary with this decision, because if she gives back the ability to John too soon without means, even with means of the ability, recovery machine, what's the point of disabling John to begin with? If she gives it to him too late, why are we just repeating our cripple arc? So I don't like it. I don't like that John was able to do that. Now, honestly, I just don't like it. But here's what we are talking about, John, being unable to copy abilities and stuff. Now, do I think, not about that, but amplifying a stat or adjusting a stat without an ability present or sample, does that make sense for an awakening for him? Yes, I do think it does. It's just the fact that he was disabled right now, or it's the fact that he should be disabled right now. And, like I've said, I just personally don't like the choice if it is so that John is immune to the disabler, because it likely comes from his mom. We still don't know 100% if that is canon as of yet, but I do think that it is a fair theory that the disabler does come from Jane's DNA as well. But again, that's not something that we've had proven as of yet. So, just personally don't like it. The scene is fairly powerful, but the scene itself is really powerful. It's very similar to Blake's awakening during his time as a vigilante, and Uru has confirmed that moments of high stress can be huge and good factors when leveling up a person's ability. And, this scene also does kind of, foreshadow a little bit, I feel, John's ability potentially evolving further into Channel Master, like his mom's ability, like Jane's ability. Now, like I said, I feel like this could have been so much more useful and so much more powerful, or I feel like this scene could have worked just fine if if John still had his ability. I feel like it still could have been completely fine to do this. But yeah, I just, maybe John was just like, oh snap, this is a new ability I'm not too sure with. I can't copy it. I don't know like what to do exactly. Or hey, the power stat for this ability isn't strong enough for me to break out. I need to adjust it. Something like that, I feel. But, honestly, the scene itself is really powerful. I just don't like the fact that John should be disabled right now. And honestly, I feel like John should have been able to... And honestly, here's the other thing. Here's the other thing I just thought of. If John just awoke in his ability and didn't change his power stat at all, he just needed his ability to break through that, that doesn't make sense because John's power stat, even with his ability active and, always having his ability, his power stat is still 0. Like, if John didn't change his stats, he just needed his ability to be able to break out of the ice. He could have done that without his ability. That's all I'm saying. That's how I feel. But, Anyway, moving on. So, John then gets out, but his eyes are glowing for a second, but then his eyes do stop glowing. So, I don't think he copied any abilities in this time. Like, I don't think he copied this assassin dude's ability. But John gets out, his eyes stop glowing, he does attack the assassin. He goes to punch him while Sarah's being drowned, from the water orb, as I'll call it. And we do get a little bit of information as to what assassin guy can and can't do. So as John attacks him, Sarah is free in that amount of time. And then John also takes note that the guy also has a liquid form because he saw the ice and everything too. So he avoids, and he avoided taking damage. He then focuses on John to basically tell him. He basically tells John that he was gonna let John live, but decided you gotta die now too. But Sarah then goes to attack him, and again he's unable to maintain the water orb that's on John, and he lets John go. So it's pretty cool. It seems that this guy has to focus on one thing at a time with his ability. Can't necessarily do everything at once. He can't avoid attacks while also, drowning a motherfucker. Now, in regards to the assassin, this guy is fucking stupid. This guy has a very low IQ. Now, I say that because he isn't masked at all. I get it. I get it. You're in public. You're trailing these guys. So clearly you want to look as inconspicuous as possible. But I feel like at least when it comes to fucking, people you're gonna kill, especially if you're... I'll get to that in a moment. But I feel like, if when you're gonna make your move, you at least have something on. You at least cover yourself in some way. But he doesn't. He's just still wide in the open. Yeah, they're in an alleyway, but these alleyways, these buildings have doors to the back too. And, he even says to John, as, John, let's go, Sarah, and the guy refocuses to John. He even tells John that he was going to let John go. He was going to let John live, but he still let himself be seen by John. Your plan was to let someone go who, clearly saw what you look like? That was your plan? And then, this part isn't as bad as, the no mask thing and all that shit, but I feel like it's pretty stupid. I feel like it was a pretty bad line. It was pretty, what? When I read it. He states that he was going to do this. He was going to murder John and Serafina peacefully, but then decided to stop, playing games. Now, drowning's not a peaceful way of killing someone. I feel like drowning is actually one of the worst things to do to someone. That's not peaceful in any way. It's not. People freak out when they drown. People, that's not peaceful. Dying peacefully in your sleep, that's just it. Dying in your sleep. Injecting someone, while they're sleeping, that's doing it peacefully. That's letting them go peacefully. I think literally pulling the trigger on someone, ending it instantaneously, that's more peacefully than just drowning as they struggle to, like, breathe and, like, get away from you. Drowning someone isn't peaceful. So, yeah. But crazy shit happens next as he says he's going to stop playing, and he just fucking impales John and Sarah with ice. Now, I'm talking impale on terms, on par of, like, fucking Vulcan murdering Alana. Like, that's how crazy it looks. And, John and Sarah go down, and it seems like they're both starting to lose consciousness, and the guy's about to finish the job on them. But as he's going to do the final slash, energy knives break his ice, and Kuyo and Kaden show up to save the day. And that's where the episode ends, cut rather short, as Uru said. So, honestly, in reference to the water assassin guy, I said it before, I still really think that this guy is potentially a god tier character. I think he should definitely be a god tier. Because again, it's an elemental ability, and based on what we've seen, elemental type abilities like lightning, they tend to be really strong abilities. Energy beam, or energy discharge, can also kind of be considered an elemental ability, I would think. So the fact that he has an ability like that, strong like that to begin with, I think already, speaks to, it being strong. But not only that, he can control water, become water, and also change its temperature and control it as ice and shape it as ice. Like I said, he's kind of like Atlas from Code Atom, which is why I said, like, I think this guy should definitely be named Atlas. I think that'd be, like, just a nice little, like, shout out, to Adarosen. But I think this guy is definitely a god tier. I think he's definitely in the range. I think he's stronger than Arlo. Maybe he's not stronger than John and Sarah when they have their abilities, but I think he's definitely stronger than Arlo. So I would say, like, maybe a 6.5 to a 7, possibly. Maybe he could give Layla a run for her money. But yeah, definitely god tier. Honestly, even though I don't like, the part with John's ability, and this episode is fairly short, I would honestly give this episode a 6.9. It's still a very good episode, a little short albeit, and the villain is kind of stupid in my opinion. But honestly, it's still a pretty good episode, and yeah, I am excited to see what happens next. But as you guys know, for those of you who were here last week, I unfortunately won't be reacting tonight when you guys are watching this video. Hopefully, I am going to be out of town for a bit, so I will see you guys all back next time for UnOrdinary, a triple chapter madness. But yeah, those are my thoughts on episode 273. Still a fairly good chapter, but I do have more than a few gripes with it, and it's also a bit short to, not really necessarily deserve a higher score. So yeah, 6.9, still good. But yeah, that'll be it for this review and discussion. Let me know what you guys thought down below in the comments. And as always, I will see you later. So